Hello and welcome to my knitting podcast, episode 6. So actually in July I didn't knit that much. The pattern is really hard to understand. I went crazy making these. I should just do the podcast like this. If you guys are new here, my name is Cindy. Welcome to my channel, and I like to do knitting podcasts. I do these every month where I catch you guys up, we just have a little chat, and I show you what I've been working on. So let's get started. I like to talk about FOs, then whips, yarn acquisition or any type of notion acquisition, and then lastly my knitting plans. Let's start with FOs. I have 2 FOs this month, which is pretty good actually. The first one here is the Haru Vest, and it looks like this. This is actually a test knit for Knit by Summer. I was so excited when I first saw her sweater version. I fell in love with the cables. I think the cables are gorgeous, and here they are. This pattern is super pretty. I knew right away that I wanted to knit something from this collection. She did a sweater, and then she did a vest, and now she's doing a cardigan, and I knew I needed something with this cable. And I signed up for the sweater version initially, but I didn't get the test knit, which is fine because at that point in time I think the universe was looking out for me, and they're like, girl, you cannot knit a cabled sweater right now, you have too much on your plate. So I didn't get the test knit, which actually turned out to be a good thing, otherwise I would have been super stressed. And instead I got the test knit for the vest version, and I think the vest version is so cute. I love it, and I've always wanted a white cabled vest to wear over a long sleeve shirt in the winter time or fall time. I love layering in the fall time, and I just put these over everything. This piece was knitted on 4mm for the cables and 3mm for the ribbing, and for the yarn you could use any yarn combination you wanted for the test knit. It just recommends that you do a fingering weight yarn plus a lace weight, but I actually chose 3 yarns that I had in stash already, which was the Cashmere yarn, and then a Mohair, and the Sandnes Alpakka Folgetrad. If you're interested in learning more about the yarn combination and how I picked these 3, you can check out some of my older knitting podcasts. I go a lot more in depth in there, and I even show you some of the combinations that I ended up not choosing, so I'll put all the information down below. Also, a knit vlog will be coming out very soon for this one, so stay tuned. Overall, I had a really great experience being part of Summer's test knit group, and she was just very helpful, supportive. She answered really quickly whenever I had questions or concerns and stuff like that. So yeah, I just really enjoyed it. I just want to mention one thing about my version, like nobody else's version, but specifically to my version, and it's the fact that I knitted very tight. What I mean by that is I'm naturally a very tight knitter to begin with, but then when I knit cables, I knit even tighter because I wanted the cables to be very clean and I didn't want any loose sections. And as a result, I think the cables turned out really well. Like, they're very uniformed, and I don't have any complaints there. I actually really like the cables. Like, that was like the thing that drew me to this vest. But the problem is, because the cable section is so tight, I didn't adjust the ribbing to kind of make it more even. And as you can see here, even though this is knitted on 4mm and this is knitted on 3mm, the tension down here is a little bit looser than the one up here. And I feel like I should have sized down even more on the ribbing, and I should have maybe made the ribbing a little bit shorter. I think I might actually redo the ribbing and extend the cable section because the cables are so beautiful. I want more of it. I might actually just knit 2 or 3 more rows of the cable and then make the ribbing section tighter and shorter so that it would look a lot more balanced and even. This is something that's specific to me, and I haven't seen it with anybody else's FO. Definitely go check out other people's FO if you want to see a more accurate representation of the pattern, because I feel like mine is definitely a more cropped version and a tighter knit version. But I will fix it and I will make it a little bit longer, and yeah, that's kind of on my plan for this vest. But regardless of all of that, I still really like this piece. Another thing about knitting tightly with cables is that my hands were cramping a lot, so I just had to be careful, and I took a lot of breaks in between to rest. So just keep that in mind and make sure you take the breaks that you need. The buttons are buttons that I found at Fabricland, and they are beautiful shell buttons. I felt like these just really matched the yarn, and everything kind of came together really nicely. So this was the first FO. So actually in July I didn't knit that much. I just felt very uninspired, unmotivated, and I just felt very stressed about everything for some reason. And on top of that, I had a few test knits prior to this where it was just like deadline after deadline after deadline, and I haven't really had a chill knitting period in a while. I decided that for the month of July, I'm just gonna take it slow for knitting and not force myself to have to cast anything on if I don't feel like it. So for the month of July, I had no test knits, I had no major whips. I'm sorry about the lighting. The sun is coming in and out and passing by all the clouds, so you're gonna see the lighting change like every 2 seconds, and I'm very sorry about that. So yeah, I just really needed July to take a break and relax a little bit. So July was a very slow knitting month for me, and I didn't really want to commit to any major projects or anything like that. Even though I didn't want to cast anything on, I couldn't not knit, right? Like, come on, we're knitters, we have to have something to fidget with. So I decided to take on an accessory, and this is what I knit. This is a Rybka pouch, and I knit 3 of these. These are really fast to knit. I think you can knit one up in 2 to 3 days, honestly. Like, and this is 2 to 3 days of just like relaxed knitting, like on the train or on the bus, and knitting here and there for an hour, not like crazy knitting. If you were to like knit the whole day, I think you can do this in a day for sure. But for me, it took me about 2 to 3 days. I just didn't want to stress myself out with knitting. Like, knitting is supposed to be something enjoyable for me, but for July, knitting actually felt like a chore. It just felt like knitting was just something that was kind of giving me a little bit of stress, and I wasn't feeling too happy about it. I was like, you know what, let's just stop with the garments, let's just do accessories. So I decided to knit the Rybka pouch. This pouch was honestly such a great reset for me. It was very low commitment, and it didn't feel like a difficult task to do, and it's honestly so cute. The reason why I knitted 3 of these is because I knitted the first one and I gave that to my boyfriend's mom because it was her birthday. Then I knit a second one, and then I gave it to my mom because why not? You know, I gotta give my mom something too. So then I gave her my second one, and this is my third one. I don't have the other 2 because they're given away, but this is the one that I kept for myself, and now there's 3 in the world, and I made it into a little goldfish. Are you kidding? It's so freaking cute. I love it. I love it. I love it. Let me talk about the yarns I use. This pattern is meant to be a scrap yarn buster, but I really like to mix and match my yarn, and I really like to play around with different yarn combinations, so I decided to buy some yarn for this, and I felt like it was okay because I was feeling very down and I needed some retail therapy, some yarn retail therapy. The pattern suggests 1 fingering weight and 1 mohair or lace weight, I think, but I was like, nah, I'm gonna do something completely different. I knew I wanted my pouch to be a little bit stiffer because I wanted it more like a charm rather than a soft pouch. So I decided that I wanted to use crochet thread, which is a little bit weird in knitting, I acknowledge that, but I used crochet thread for my Marie skirt, and for my Marie skirt it was because it was too soft. I felt like it was gonna pill, and I needed something to make it a little bit more stiff and to hold its shape because it is a bottom and I'm gonna be sitting, walking, whatever. So I decided to use crochet thread for that. And I know it's not very conventional. I'm actually not sure. I don't know if I have seen anybody else knit with crochet thread, but for me, I kind of like it. And when I say crochet thread, this is like the thinnest version of it. It would be like lace. I wanted to make this into a goldfish because I bought this Amirisu yarn when I went to Japan in January, and I felt like this was the perfect yarn to use for this project. It's so pretty. It's yellow and orange, and it really gives off that goldfish vibe. So I felt like this would have been the perfect base for the fish. And to accompany this, I bought 2 crochet threads. First one is just a yellow one, and this was purely just to add some structure to the pouch. And this one is Aunt Lydia's crochet thread classic 10, and the color is called golden yellow. I honestly just bought this at Michael's for 30% off. I just wanted to look for the cheapest thread possible. I had these 2, right, but it looked a little boring to me. Like, 2 yellow yarn doesn't look fun to me, so I was like, okay, let's add some sparkle into this, and I decided to purchase this one. There's like nothing left. I'm sorry, it's like such a small piece now, but this one is also Aunt Lydia's metallic 10, and this one is in the color gold. This has little bits of a metallic strip woven into it or spun into it. It looks super pretty and it adds a little bit of sparkle to the yarn. For reference, this is how it turned out. I'm extremely happy with this yarn combination, and I just really love playing around with different types of yarn, especially mixing like tonal or solid yarn together with variegated yarn. I think it looks so freaking pretty, and I think it really kind of softens the color variegation. I want to talk about a few things that I changed from the pattern. So for this pattern, the mouth is kind of a drawstring, as you can see, so that it can like pucker its lip and close the little pouch. I decided to make the top part completely just out of this yarn. I didn't hold all three together throughout the whole pouch. I actually only used the Amirisu yarn at the top because I wanted it to be a little bit softer, so that when I do actually close the pouch and I pull the drawstring, it would properly pucker up. I knew that if I had both crochet threads together at the mouth, it would not pucker up as nicely as it does right now because it would be too stiff. It would not be able to even fold on itself like that. So this is what it looks like puckered up or closed. And so this section right here is just using Amirisu. Everything else from here to here is using the 2 crochet threads held together with the Amirisu yarn. And for this cord, I actually only used 1 strand of Amirisu yarn, and this is the Amirisu Trek. I forgot to show you guys. This is the Amirisu Trek that I got from Japan. It's hand-dyed and it is in the color Pudding. And then for the eyes, it's actually just a button. This is a button that I got from Fabricland. So I wanted my side stitches to look a little bit different from what the pattern had. I wanted my side stitches to look like this instead of an actual stitching that you see. Instead of stitching it wrong sides together, I actually stitched it right sides together like this. And then I did a little whip stitch around, and then I flipped it back the right way. The tail was really hard to flip, but what you have to do is you have to flip the tail itself first. Use like a crochet hook or something, like the back of it, and then just kind of stick it through. And then you flip the rest of the body, and it works out really well. This is what this pouch looks like on its side. Oh my god, it looks like a little squid actually. I should just do the podcast like this. So yeah, this is what it looks like. It looks so freaking cute. For the body, you can make it however long you want, so whatever you want to hold in it, you just kind of knit it to that length. For me, I made it long enough to hold lipsticks. I don't even have a lip balm with me to show you, but let's see. Here's some stitch markers. If you stick it in, close it up, now you have a little pouch. It's so cute! And because the fabric's a little bit stiffer, I feel a lot better about putting in heavier products, and I won't worry about it kind of tugging on the yarn or ruining the yarn. So I'm really happy with the fact that I went with a stiffer fabric. So yeah, this is my second FO. Technically this is like FO times 3. So yeah. The sun has left us again, so I'm very sorry it's so dark here. It's gonna drive me nuts when I'm editing this, and I hope it doesn't drive you nuts when you're watching this. I cannot control the sky. Let's now talk about whips. Because this month I didn't want to commit to any large garments and do any other cast-ons and stuff like that, I just decided that in my knit break, can I call it a knit break, or like a knit slowdown period, I wanted to fix something that I've been meaning to fix for a while, and I felt like this might have been a better project for me because it's less commitment, less to knit, and it's just something that would probably get me back on track where I feel a little bit better about my knits. So I decided to fix my Salty Day sweater. This sweater, oh my god, I love this sweater. It's so soft, and I think the pattern is gorgeous. You can wear this on top of everything. I say that about like all my knits, but like honestly this one really, because it's white and the pattern is great. You can also wear the summertime like this just to lay on top of your dresses, your spaghetti straps, and it looks good. So I really like this sweater. Actually, I've worn it a few times in the summertime already, just as like a layering piece, and for when you're indoors where it's air conditioned and it's super cold, you have this piece available to you to wear. And because there's so many holes here, you don't have to worry about dying in the heat because there's ventilation. I decided to fix the sleeves because the sleeves were too short. Initially they were like bracelet length like this, but I decided to add 3 inches to each side so that it could be a little bit longer. Currently I already have the left sleeve completely fixed and I'm working on the right sleeve right now. I'm going to show you a clip from a while back when I was working on the left sleeve but the right sleeve had not been fixed yet. So you can see that the right sleeve is significantly shorter than the left sleeve. It just didn't fit with the overall body length as well. I end up actually knitting an extra 3 rows per decrease section. I didn't touch or change anything with this area or the cuffs, so the pattern and the cuff are completely the same, and I kept all the stitch count the same. All I did was lengthen this ribbing area, which is where you use to decrease for the sleeves. So for this one I actually just frogged the whole thing and I reknit the whole sleeve. For my right side, I wanted to try something new. I removed the cuff and the pattern section, and then I frogged the decrease, which is the ribbing section, and then I reknit this whole area. And once I'm done, which is probably going to be today, I'm just going to graft these two together and I will have my sleeve. I've actually never done it like this before. This is my first time, but it seems to be working out pretty well and I don't foresee any issues. So if this works out, this will be how I will be lengthening my sleeves in the future, because I don't like reknitting sections if I don't need to. So yep, it's fun to try out new techniques, and I'm glad that even though I was kind of on my knitting slowdown or knitting break-ish, I was able to still gain some new skills and try something new and add that to my toolbox. So yeah, very happy with this one. I'm almost done. Maybe I'll share it as an FO again next month, but I don't even know if this counts as an FO. After I fix this, I basically have 0 whips again. No whips at all. This is kind of crazy. Let's talk about yarn acquisition. Even though I had no yarn acquisition, I had a lot of notion acquisition, and I just want to share that with you guys. I thought I had no yarn acquisition, but I am a complete liar because, of course, I bought yarn for my fish pouch, and on top of that I bought buttons for the eyes on the fish pouch. These were definitely some sort of acquisition there. And then another thing is, this month I just kept buying buttons and like other notions and stuff like that. I think with not knitting, I just started wanting to acquire different things. So I actually bought a few buttons, and I want to show you all the buttons. I can't even show you the one that I used for the fish anymore because I used it all up, but if you want to see it closely, this is the button I bought, and I just bought it at Fabricland. They were really cheap, like $2 or so, and it came with, I think it came with 6, I don't remember, and I wish I had a picture. I don't anymore, but it was like one of those really affordable buttons that I purchased from Fabricland. And then on top of that, I also bought these beautiful flower sparkly buttons from Fabricland, and I figured if I want to knit the peacock cardigan or the Whitmore cardigan that I was talking about last month, I can use these buttons, and they are absolutely adorable. I love them so much. The moment I saw them, I knew I needed it, and they're really tiny and cute. They also have different sizes. I actually found these buttons when I was looking for buttons for my Haru Vest. But yeah, I saw these buttons and I figured I'm gonna start collecting buttons, because every time I finish knitting something, the last piece is always a button. And it's always an adventure trying to go find fitting buttons for the piece. So I was like, why don't I just start collecting these buttons so that I will have a little stash that I can look through. So yeah, I decided to buy these, and I really love them. So those are from Fabricland. And then a couple weeks later, or maybe 2 weeks later, I decided to go to YSM Double Take. They have a little studio in there where they actually have volunteers go in and they will patch up any used garments, so that if there's a hole or anything, they'll fix it, and then once it's fixed, they'll put it back on the floor at the thrift store and they can sell it out, which I think is a really great operation. Because let's say you have this beautiful garment and the only issue is there's a hole, you're not going to pay anybody to fix these holes, because then you would be earning no profit when you sell it back out at the thrift store. So then these volunteers come in and they'll fix it for free, and then now you have a perfectly good garment that you can put on the floor for somebody else to buy. It's just so great, because then now you're not wasting fabric, you're not wasting garments. So they were actually having a sale, both the thrift store and the studio. They were selling sewing machines, buttons, yarn, fabric, zippers, everything like that. I wish I took a video, but I forgot. But yeah, I'm really glad I got to go, and I caught them on the last day of the sale, and I bought some really cool things, and they're actually all buttons. Let's go through them. They were selling vintage buttons at 25 cents per piece, and these are really beautiful vintage buttons that I got. They're so pretty, they're green, and each one looks different, and you can definitely tell a difference between buying buttons from places like this that are vintage versus buying something from Fabricland. I just find that these buttons have a lot more uniqueness to them and they have a lot more personality, so I really like this. I don't have a project for these yet, but I'm happy to have these in my collection. So these were 25 cents a piece, but she cut me a deal and she sold all of these to me for $1.50. Like, can you believe it? This is $1.50 and this is $3.20 at Fabricland. Like, are you kidding? So you're gonna sell me pretty beautiful buttons at a super cheap price? Like, I just felt so lucky to be able to find these and I'm very happy with them. So these are the first ones. And then I also bought some other buttons. These are very loose, so I'm gonna be very careful not to drop any of them. The first one I want to show you guys are these sunflower buttons. Like, are you kidding me right now? So freaking beautiful. So there's two sizes. This is the larger size, and then I have this one, which is a smaller size. So in total, I have 8 of those buttons, 3 of the bigger ones and 5 of the smaller ones. I don't know what I'm gonna do with these, but they are so cute. So I'm just very happy to have these in my collection as well. And then lastly, I just bought some pink and yellow buttons. These ones are just very regular, basic buttons that I'm just happy to have in my collection. This one is yellow, although it doesn't really look like it right now, and this one's pink. And I bought 8 of each of those. And now I want to talk about these other notions that I purchased. I went to High Bead in Toronto in July, and it is a place where they just sell a bunch of beads and jewelry making materials such as chains, jump rings, clasps, all that kind of stuff. They also sell beads and charms, and I fell in love with the charms, so I just decided to buy a few. I also bought some rings and clasps. Actually, these clasps are called earring clasps. I didn't know that. And yeah, I decided to put it all together, and then I made little stitch markers with it. So cute. I went crazy making these, and I plan on giving it to all of my friends. I have a few more of these rings that I purchased. So these were $1.50, and I think it came with like 22 or so. The charms were $1 each, which I think you can get for cheaper if you buy it online. These earrings clasps were about, I think, $2 for 10. I don't remember how much, but I know when I divided out all the costs, it was about $1.36 per stitch marker. I'm gonna show you guys each of the stitch markers, and hopefully you'll enjoy them. I already gave one away to my friend, and I'll put that one up here. It's a little tangerine. It's so freaking cute and has a face on it. I'm obsessed. I'm gonna give it to all my friends who knit and crochet, or you know, who do fiber arts, so we can all enjoy them together. This is the first one. This is a really pretty daisy. So as you can see, this top part is the clasp, or the earring they call it, and then I just put a little ring on it and then attached it to the charm. So this is the first one, a daisy. Then we have this strawberry jam. And then we have this fry, McDonald's fry. Little mushroom, so cute, with a little pearl. Yellow flower. An egg, huge strawberry, a cherry, lastly another cherry. I was definitely going through a cherry phase. I have one last acquisition or gift, I guess. My friend was going to crochet this for her son, but she decided to buy me one too so we could do it together. And it's just so sweet of her that she got this for me. It's such a cute frog. I just can't wait to work on this with her, so I'm very happy for this gift. And I feel so loved whenever people think of me and they buy me things. I'm like, I can't believe you did that. That's so nice of you. Hopefully we'll have a frog sometime soon. We're gonna take it slow and work on it together. So expect a frog maybe in like 6 months or so. This is actually just from Dollarama, and I didn't even know Dollarama had these kits. It's crazy. I guess crocheting and knitting is becoming a thing now, even in Dollarama and mainstream markets, so I'm happy for it. I'm very happy for it. Apparently they have other animals too. I don't know which ones because I didn't go see, but yeah, if you're interested and you know you want to work on this with maybe your kid or something like that, maybe this would be a good idea. But I will say we already started working on this, and the pattern is really hard to understand. I think it's quite difficult of a project, to be very honest with you, especially if you don't normally knit or crochet. So yeah. But I'm very grateful and happy for this gift regardless, and I'm very excited to work on this together with her. This is my last acquisition, you could say, or gift. I don't know if a gift counts as an acquisition, but because it's something new in my life, I'm gonna share it with you guys. Alright, that's it for all my acquisitions. Let's talk about knitting plans. I chatted about how July was a very slow knitting month for me, and I was very unmotivated, uninspired, and all that kind of stuff. It's already August now, and I'm starting to feel like I'm getting out of it, so I'm gonna finish up my Salty Day sweater sleeve fixing first, and then I will cast on the Regolith Hoodie. I've already purchased the pattern, so I'm very excited about this one. I've been wanting to knit this for months now, and if you look back to some of my older knitting podcasts, maybe even up until April, I was probably already talking about this. And now that I finally purchased the pattern, I am going to cast it on probably this week. These are the 3 yarns I'm going to be using to knit up this hoodie. I've purchased these yarns a long time ago. The Leo and Roxy I purchased in February. The Good Grief yarn I purchased in March during the March Madness sale, and this one I don't remember when, but I purchased it a while back, so I'm very happy to finally be using them. I'm just excited to finally have this excitement for a cast on back in my life. I am starting to feel inspired again and motivated about what I'm doing, and I just really needed to take that time for myself in July to kind of sit in my emotions and sit in my feelings and walk through them before I could get back to where I am at now. Definitely look out for my cast-ons and knits to come, because I'll be sharing a lot more about that. Follow me on Instagram if you're interested in following me on my journey, because I'll be posting a lot more. And also check out some of my older YouTube videos. I post knit vlogs where I bring you from winding up a ball of yarn to wearing the garment, and if you are also knitting the same thing, you might find it helpful. Last month, a lot of you guys gave me an update on what you guys are knitting, and I am very happy to hear from you guys and learn about what you guys are doing, and I just love being able to chat with you. So definitely let me know what you're knitting this month and how you've been feeling about knitting. If you've also felt the same way as me, where you've just had a really low knitting period and just wasn't feeling the same way about knitting, and let me know how you got out of it. I think it'd be very helpful for all the other people who might be feeling the same way. I appreciate all of you guys so much for chatting with me, for watching this video, sharing your experiences. This is episode 6, so that means it's been half a year of me doing these podcasts, and I'm just so grateful for you guys and happy we get to chat every month. I'm gonna leave it at that. Thank you again, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!